Welcome to Sasha Crochet. In this tutorial we're going to start off with a chain stitch with a slip stitch and a chain of an even count. I think I'm going to go to 16. Today's tutorial is being done with a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. Of course, I have a needle and a measuring tape as well as 100% acrylic yarn. You can use any yarn that you like. I've chosen a 4 medium worsted weight. So I've stopped at 16 chains. So I've stopped at 16 chains, and from here we're going to skip the first chain right underneath. I don't know if you can see it, it's right there. We're going to yarn over and we're going to go into that second chain from the hook with a half double crochet. And we're going to put a half double crochet in each chain in this row. Make sure you don't miss a chain. Okay, so counting that first chain, we have 15 half double crochets. From here you want to chain 2, turn your work, and with this we're going to yarn over and we're going to use the back loops only in this row, and we're going to do another row of half double crochets using the back loops only in this row. We're going to do that in every stitch across. If you're not familiar with the half double crochets, I have a video on it. It's a short video, you should check it out. Continue with that. Pause the video when you have this row complete of half double crochets in the back loop only. Meet me back. So we're at the end of the second row and we're chaining 2, turning our work, and we're going to repeat that first row of half double crochets, grabbing up both loops this time. We're going to work a half double crochet into each stitch across this row. Don't skip any spaces. So we've completed that row 3. Now you see where we're going with this pattern. We're going to continue this pattern until we have about enough to basically cuff around your wrist. I'll use my wrist as an example. So you want to continue this pattern until you have enough to go around your wrist. Here I'm chaining 2. That was a row of half doubles out of both loops, and this row we're turning will be a row of half doubles in the back loop. So we'll do one row of half doubles in the back loop, and then the next row is a row of half doubles in both loops, continuing that until we have enough to go completely around your wrist. Pause the video and meet me back when you have enough to go around your wrist. So I've got enough rows complete to go around my wrist. we ended up here. So now we're going to take what you haven't folded in half, and you want to stitch it close. Make sure you have it lined up before it gets to stitching. What I like to do is go through both pieces. Go in through both sides with a slip knot. So to close it up, I want to close it up on the inside and not on the outside. So I'm going to look at the material and decide what's going to be the inside versus the outside. Stitching and go from there. I want to make sure I go through both pieces here. I want to connect. With a slip stitch to connect. And then from here, I'm gonna work from this side. I'm just gonna do the same exact thing I just did. I'm gonna go in to make sure I go in through both sides and then pull through a slip stitch. Working that completely across this edge and seaming these two ends together. You just carry that on till you get to the end of the row. You just carry on till you get to the end. I'm at the end here. Put in the last slip stitch. All right, so now I'm here at the top of this, and we're going to chain one. Well, let's chain two. We're going to chain two, okay, and then we're going to put in an even amount of half double crochets around the top of this, as long as it's an even amount. So you figure you can do 24, 26, 28, 30, as long as you have an even amount. Whatever you have on this side, you need to have on that side. I like to go through my pattern first before I decide how many I'm going to have. So we're starting here, and we know we're going to put in one here. Make sure you go through both loops so you don't create any unnecessary holes here. That's two. It's probably going to be about 22 stitches, 24 stitches. Let's see what we end up. So I ended up with 24 stitches, pretty much evenly spaced around the rim of the cuff that I just created. So now from here, we don't want to create any seams because we want it to be fairly close and tight. So from here into this next stitch, which is right here, I'm going to put in triple crochets. No, I'm not. So from here, we're pretty evenly matched I'm going to do a row here of half doubles. You're not going to slip stitch it together, and you're not going to create any change. You're just going to continue to work in a spiral basically. You're going to do a full row of, you can actually put in a stitch marker here if you need to. It might be best. Let me pull those out so you can see where the stitch markers should go. So this would be our first stitch into the next row. Let's put it in place and then put in our stitch marker. We're going to carry on with the same pattern we've been using of half double crochets around this row. Go ahead and put half double crochets in each stitch around this row. Pause the video and meet me back when you have a full row of half double crochets. So we've made it back to the front of this row, to the end of the row, whatever you want to call it. And I think I'm going to carry on the rib technique for these the mittens. So here I'm going to take this stitch marker out, and I'm only going to work in the back row, the back loop only for this row of half double crochets. Marking this stitch here with my stitch marker, and carrying on with the back loop only half double crochets for this row. The next row will be just like this. It'll be both loops, but continue the pattern of half double crochets in the back loop only. Pause the video and meet me back when you have this row complete. Half double crochets in the back loop only. So I just completed a row of back loop only half double crochets. You're going to continue this pattern of regular half double crochets in both loops, and then a row of half double crochets in the back loop only. You're going to do that for a total of 7 rounds, and then pause the video when you have the 7 rounds complete. Meet me back. We're doing back loop only half double crochets all the way around this row, continuing past the opening we just created. Pause the video and meet me back when you have this back loop only half double crochet row complete. So I've made it around to where the chain is. You just continue with what you've been doing. So we know with this chain, where the chain is starting, we know that this is the beginning of the next row. So here we're going to pull up one loop, leaving the other loop in these 6. Yarn over, pull up one loop, and put one half double in each of the 6 chains. In one loop. Don't pull up all the loops, just one loop. And once you have those 6 loops covered, you're just going to go back into completing the row the same way you started. These are regular half doubles in this row. Not missing any spaces. Don't skip. You need all the spaces filled in. When you get back to this part, back into the regular, You're going to follow this pattern, continue this pattern up. So now we've created our hole for our thumb. Let's try it on so you'll see where the thumb is at. There. Nice. Nice snug fit. So you continue that same pattern up until you get to the pinky, to about right here, covering your pinky. When you get to this point, pause the video and meet me back. So I've made it around to where the chain is. You just continue with what you've been doing. So we know with this chain, where the chain is starting, we know that this is the beginning of the next row. So here we're going to pull up one loop, leaving the other loop in these 6. Yarn over, pull up one loop, and put 1 half double in each of the 6 chains. In one loop. Don't pull up all the loops, just one loop. And once you have those 6 loops covered, you're just going to go back into completing the row the same way you started. These are regular half doubles in this row. Not missing any spaces. Don't skip. You need all the spaces filled in. When you get back to this part, back into the regular, you're going to follow this pattern, continue this pattern up. So now we've created our hole for our thumb. Let's try it on so you'll see where the thumb is at. There. Nice. Nice snug fit. So you continue that same pattern up until you get to the pinky, to about right here, covering your pinky. When you get to this point, pause the video and meet me back. So we're back. I ended up doing 2 rows of decrease. I really didn't like the way it was ending up. So it's at this point here where I'm going to go into the next stitch with just a slip stitch to close up my little hole here on top. I'm going to leave a long tail for seaming. I'm going to pull this through. Flip my glove inside out. Pulling that seam through, that tail through to work it. And I'm just going to seam up. I'm going to do a simple close up here on this seam. So you just thread the needle like you would under normal circumstances. I didn't leave a lot of gaps. I tried my best not to leave seams and gaps when I'm using premium acrylic. So that's why I like the 4 worsted weight. So I got my yarn on. To start off, I always like to pull through first. Create a little hole here, a little knot to go through. Pulling it through itself first is what I'm trying to describe. And then once you have it pulled through itself, just seam up any empty spaces. I don't have many. I'm just showing you for example purposes. And you want to seam it, you want to pull the yarn through at the very top so it's not uncomfortable on your fingers, the seam. I'm going through this way, just adding a little extra security so my mitt doesn't come loose. Of course, you make two, you follow this and make the second one. When you have it nice and secure, as tight as you like it, you can cut the excess off. Just like so. Turn your mitt back to the side that you're working on. Now we're going to put the thumb in place. Almost forgot about the thumb. The young thumb. With the thumb, it's pretty easy to do. You got to put your yarn back on. So you want to put a slip stitch into your yarn with it off the hook, of course. Off the hook. Hilarious. All right, so you want to go in the center of your space. There's many ways to do this. I think we got about 6 stitches here. Let's see. Okay, so in the 3rd stitch, in the 4th stitch, I'm sorry, is where we're going to put our yarn. So I'm just going to go inside the 4th stitch, pull the yarn. I'm going to put the slip stitch on there and pull it through, making sure it's fairly tight. And then I'm going to chain 1 to secure it back on to the piece. Let me try that again. There's my slip stitch. There we go. There we are. All right, let's try it again. Go back through the stitch, grab your yarn around the hook, pull it through, chain 1 for safe measure, push your yarn, your tail inside this mitt. This is the easy part. You could just basically half double around in a circle. You can do decreases if you need to, just depending on the size of your thumb here. So you go in with a double after that chain 1. We're doing half doubles all the way around. This is where you would do the if you were doing a decrease row, you would do it right here in the corners, so it would be neat. You would do a decrease here and a decrease there, just so it would really be neat here. It's really up to you how you want to put this thumb on. So here you could do decreases. It's up to you how you handle this situation. Or you could just go around in a circle until you reach the length with, of course, with half double crochets until you reach the length of your thumb here. I'm doing decreases in the corners. You can do them really anywhere. It's really up to you where you do your decreases at. If you do decreases, you can really just go around this circle with half double crochets. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, guys. It's up to you how you handle this. And then you stop, you continuously try to glove on as you get rows in. I think it'll take me about 5 or 6 rows to cover up my thumb. you just spiral half double crochets up until you get to the point that it's tall enough to get your thumb in there. Pause the video and I'll meet you back once I have my thumb complete.